welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to go over several articles on the Acolyte. Now, before we get into it, if you enjoy the show, I'm happy for you. Please do enjoy the show. I personally don't. I have my criticisms of it, but I'm trying to keep my criticism of it to a minimum while going over these articles because I'm trying to discern who the show was really made for. And there's an article here on IGN. It's by Eric Goldman. And this is going over episode 3, a review of episode 3. And it's kind of a long read. There's some parts in it, but we're just going to get down to the highlight of it. Because, quite frankly, the writing in this hurt my brain. I hate to put it that way. I have tried to record this video multiple times and it's hurt my head. Now we can get to what they initially said about the premiere, which is the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte set up the story well and do a solid job of moving Star Wars into a much different era than we've seen in live action before. They boast some appreciated touches in terms of production, design, and world building, but they are hindered by some inconsistent and clunky storytelling. I agree with the inconsistent and clunky storytelling, and that's about all I can agree with on that. The Acolyte takes some adjustment simply because it sometimes feels tonally and visually off for the franchise. Well, sometimes, no. It really does not feel like Star Wars at all. Let's put lightsabers into something else. That's basically what it is. Now, we'll go over their roundabout thoughts on this episode for 3. Jodie Turner-Smith and Margarita Livia are both very good here, exuding strength and confidence as the 2 most prominent members of the Coven, and expertly showing a long-time trust between them, mixed with a willingness to challenge one another. They're pretty obviously a romantic couple, but we're going to be vague about it. One, they weren't vague, and 2, who cares what they do with their adult bits. Coding is frustrating, though, a non-committal middle ground that's likely to annoy both those looking for more overt representation in Star Wars and those determined to be angry about it. Nobody is angry about it because nobody cares. They want a good story. They don't care what people do with their bits. Good Lord. The point being, just let those witches kiss. That's all you care about. It's just the virtue signal of, we gotta have the representation in here. Like the Night Sisters, the Benbeck witches use the term mother for their leaders, suggesting there's a connection between their sex, or that they may even have splintered off from one another. On top of that, Mother Coral is a Zabrak, one of Darth Maul's people, which provides more connective tissue back to the Night Sisters. Spice Cream is a distractingly silly name for a treat Osha and May are so excited about, and considering they have ice cream in Star Wars, entire planets of it, why not just call it ice cream or Ice Spice in tribute to the rapper? Oh God, that hurts my brain. But it's also an odd name, given spice in Star Wars is often smuggled and used to make illegal drugs. Just what does Spice Cream do to you? Should we root for the Jedi to take the kids into protective custody to save them from spice addiction? And is it made with blue milk? No one cares. If so, will eating a lot of spice cream make your eyes turn blue, Fremen style? Was tattooing really Arrakis all along, you maniacs? Oh, God, that's not even a funny thing. Oh. This episode was directed by. I'm so sorry, I cannot pronounce that. I really am. Who made the excellent 2022 film Yang, starring Jodie Turner-Smith, making The Acolyte a reunion for the two. If you haven't seen it, that movie has one of the best opening credit sequences in recent memory. Verdict: the third episode of The Acolyte continued to admirably expand the history and lore of the Star Wars universe. It provides a lot to ponder and debate in its depiction of a group of Force users who have no love for the Jedi and their methods of recruiting children, and don't even accept the Force as the name and correct interpretation for the energy that surrounds and binds us. Flashing back to the twins' origin provided us with more Carrie-Anne Moss's Indara, whom we were so abruptly deprived of in this series' opening scene. On the other hand, it was more sloppy storytelling at work, including in the puzzling depiction of a key part of the main character's backstory, and some scenes that were intended as dramatic yet simply landed cheesy. Fingers crossed there's ultimately a satisfying answer provided to some of the questions raised here. And they gave it a 6. The third episode of The Acolyte adds a lot of tantalizing new layers to how we perceive both the Jedi and the Force, even as there are still frustrating aspects to how the story is told. We're going to go to Forbes now. The Acolyte Episode 3 review. One of the most disappointing Star Wars episodes ever made, by Eric Kane, senior contributor. Yeah. Okay. The third episode of Disney's The Acolyte is an embarrassment to the entire franchise, though the same could be said for so much Star Wars these days, outside of Andor, which I thoroughly enjoyed Andor. It was a slow burn, but whenever it got moving, it was good. And the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I agreed, the first 2 were good. The last season was nightmarishly bad. Here's one exchange between 2 characters in this latest episode. May, the Jedi are bad. Osha, the Jedi are good. Later, the same 2 characters, the twin protagonist and antagonist of the story, as children in this flashback episode, say to one another, "What have you done? What have you done? What have you done?" I want to ask Disney the same question. What have you done? This entire episode is a bad joke. We learn that May and Osha lived with their mothers in a society of witches, all of whom are female. It appears they were conceived using the Force or something. Force using witches are also apparently frowned upon in this galaxy. They call the Force the thread. I'm getting dark side vibes here, though I'm getting the sense that this show will try to be all edgy and make the Jedi out to be the bad guys, which we've seen play out in about half a dozen times at this point. Osha and May fight one another constantly and are very, very irritating throughout the episode. Osha wants to leave her people, and May wants to stay. When the Jedi show up and ask to test the girls for their Force powers, they agree to fake not having any. But Jedi Master Soul convinces, which Soul is still the only good part of the show, convinces Osha not to lie and say she wants to be a Jedi and leave with them against her mother's wishes. May is upset and threatens to kill her sister, locking her in their chambers and burning the entire witch village to the ground, apparently killing everyone. It seems clear that there's more to the story, that somehow the four Jedi, Indara, King Tommen, Wookiee, Jedi, and Soul, are somehow complicit. Soul saves Osha and they escape. May appears to fall to her death. But we know better since this is the third episode. What a disaster. You have scattered thoughts. IGN says this episode offers up a lot of tantalizing new layers to how we perceive both the Jedi and the Force, and I would like to know if we use if we use different versions of the word tantalizing. I'm confused about the entire motivation of May, who wants revenge on the Jedi, but is actually the one responsible for killing everybody. If that is anyone is actually dead after all, both twins thought the other one was dead. It seems likely none of the witches died at all. Even if she didn't burn everyone to death, she certainly started a fire that she certainly must believe killed Osha at the very least. Well, you'd think that, except for they see each other on the bridge and she falls first. And she apparently never saw the body, so. The Jedi in episode 2 killed himself over this. It seems if there's not more to this story, this will make absolutely no sense whatsoever. The witch chant was one of the lamest chants in the history of all chants. I wanted to giggle maniacally listening to it. I also wanted to cry. The Night Sisters are better witches. Marin from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor is a better female witch character than anyone on this show. This show had something like $180 million for its budget, and I cannot for the life of me tell where any of it has gone. Every world feels small, every set feels claustrophobic. There's no sense of scale or variety. It's also relentlessly generic. But hey, lightsabers. Rewatching the episode with Soul and Osha, this room with the pile of bodies is clearly not from a fire. So yeah, there's more to this, but that doesn't change how ludicrous the whole "I'll kill you" bit is, and how May very much tried to burn her sister to death. Of course, it could also be bad production design, in which case maybe they did die from the fire or smoke. Yeah, no sign of injury really or anything. Regardless, what a weird way to end the episode. The girls fight, the fire spreads throughout what appears to be a stone, and then suddenly they're passing all these bodies. We didn't hear any commotion or screaming or battle. It's more confusing than intriguing. Also, what's up with the tree? Someone has captured the chant footage. This was put in an actual show we're supposed to take seriously. Second tweet. I would go through these, but I don't want to get hit with copyright for playing just these little clips, because something tells me Disney would do it. I have no worries. But if you get a chance, go on Twitter and look at them, or go to Forbes and listen to them. It is funny. Also, here's something before we go further. Okay, this woman here is one of the mother that created this. Mother over here, this Zabrak woman, happens to be the woman who carried the children. Why don't the children have horns? Or at least some of the features of the Zabrak, like pointy ears or any number of things, or at least some more markings, but no. They look like the mother on this side. But we'll leave that alone. I do have a theory, however. Imposters have taken over Star Wars, and lots of other popular genre properties, from The Witcher to True Detective. Maybe they're fans, maybe they're not, but they're certainly masquerading as good storytellers, and they think they know best, making whatever changes they see fit to make it their own. I got some words on that in a moment, but let's go over. Now, this is something he posted, and actually is kind of poignant for this. As Game of Thrones author George R. Martin wrote recently, which, mind you, I'm not the biggest fan of Martin. Finish your damn books, you fat Keebler elf. Everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take great stories and make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material is written by Stan Lee, Charles Dickens, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin, J.R.R. Tolkien, Mark Twain, Raymond Chandler, Jane Austen, or, well, anyone. No matter how major or a writer it is, no matter how great the book, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks he can do better, eager to take the story and improve on it. The book is the book. The film is the film. They will tell you as if they were saying something profound. Then they make this story their own. They never make it better, though 999 times out of 1,000 they make it worse. Amen, brother. I'd say that Star Wars deserves better stewards. But George Lucas didn't do a very good job of that himself in the later years. Look, you can have your. There are people that like the prequel trilogy, people that didn't. There was some good, there was some bad in it. I still am a purist. I like the original three: New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi the best. And Empire being the best of the three. But there's no reason to really crap on the prequel trilogy after seeing the sequels and everything else that keeps getting shoved out. There's more to this. I guess we'll finish it. I'd say Star trilogy and all the worst ways. Well, what a shame. I'll keep watching, obviously, and I really do hope it gets better. In fact, next week's episode, which is too short and has an annoying cliffhanger ending, is leaps and bounds better than this one. So that's something to look forward to. Silver linings and all that jazz. I mean, he's got a video for it if you would rather watch the video on it. But let's get to the next article. This is on Games Radar. Film. Well, it's not Games. It's on Games Radar. All right. The Acolyte has a writer that had never seen Star Wars. Here's how they made the show even better. In episode 3. How can you say that you're how can you make something if you've never even how can you make something on a property if you've never even seen any of the property? To get at least a little idea of what it is. To make tone right. To make it tonally make sense or anything. This is by Bradley Russell. This was published 12 hours ago. Neat. The Acolyte showrunner reveals one keynote she got from the non-Star Wars fan on her writing staff. The Acolyte creator Leslie Headland hasn't been shy about wanting a writer's room that doesn't just include those who were massive Star Wars fans. In fact, one of the Disney Plus show's writers had never seen a Star Wars movie prior to getting the job, but it was that unique outside perspective that led to a useful piece of feedback that helped elevate and improve a scene in the Acolyte's most recent episode. Oh boy. In episode 3, we have the twins as children. When you're world building in an episode, creating a new world after just 2 episodes, you're really intent on having everybody explain things. Headland tells Games Radar of the most recent entry in the series, which featured a sustained flashback to May and Osha's upbringing on Brindok, and the note Headland loved. She explains, so the kids weren't talking like kids, they were talking like Star Wars characters, she said. When I was a little kid, I just cared about how many cookies were going to be at something. Headland continues, I thought, oh my god, thank you. I would have worried about the world building and the Star Warsness of these children, and she humanized the characters, or attempted to. Sometimes I was like, no, we're doing the Star Wars version. One of these moments in question appears to be when May and Osha ask for some spice creams, despite leaving the settlement before the Ascension ceremony. It's a cute moment, and at once feels natural while drawing attention to the very different parenting styles of mothers Anissa and Coral. A note worth making if you're asking if you ask us. Sorry. Oh God. That's where you got that from? All right, hold on. We're going to get away from this, because that hurt my soul a little bit there. Now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of this, of who this is clearly made for. Because this, right here, this is an article on Inverse. These are people. Levy Scott. Okay. These are the virtue signaling people that are always so worried about, oh, is it diverse enough? Is it this, that, or the other? But don't care if there's a story. No one cares what people look like or who they're banging. This is Star Wars. There's all sorts of people that look all sorts of ways. No one cares. No one cares about their interpersonal relationships as far as how they are doing the horizontal mambo. What they care about is the story any good. Does it make sense? Any of that? But no, this person, it has to be something else. So whenever the show isn't good and you have valid criticism from others, this person decides to attack. Because this is exactly the type of people Lucasfilm really wants on their side. Some attack dogs. Because Lucasfilm came out, because I looked after the show came out, where they were going after fans, complaining, oh, they're ist and Pope and everything else. And some of them were outright saying, well, we're hoping this show makes them angry. Well, good job. You successfully did that. We'll show that on Rotten Tomatoes in a second. The Acolyte isn't ruining Star Wars. You are. Lucasfilm's latest series in the franchise is the franchise's most promising yet, but fans are too blinded by their hate to see it. No one hates Star Wars more than those who claim to be Star Wars fans. Sure, the past few years have given the fandom plenty to critique. This sequel splintered the fan base beyond recognition, and Lucasfilm's efforts to expand the galaxy on a small screen have been mixed at best, and in some cases criticism is inevitable. Not everyone will find something to like in the franchise's recent output. At a certain point, though, the discourse reaches a fever pitch, and even Lucasfilm's most promising projects get swept up in the drama. The Acolyte is not the first Star Wars project to face the brunt of fan backlash, and it likely won't be the last. But the new live-action series is also one of the best additions to the galaxy far away in a long time, embracing decades of nostalgia while also thinking critically on the franchise's legacy. It also might be the most diverse, as you can tell, that's the thing they care about there, Star Wars story yet. And while that's definitely a boon for marginalized fans, it's made the Acolyte the target of a vocal splinter of the fandom. Whether you know them as the Fandom Menace or a cluster of blue check marks on Twitter, it's impossible to escape their orbit. The same folks that review bombed diverse swings like Marvel's The Eternals. One, before we go any further into this article, these are the same people that say any criticism that gives a downvote to any of their diverse projects or their marginalized projects or anything with all their virtue signaling agenda in it is instantly review bombing. You ever think that maybe it was just crap? The Marvels was boring crap. The comic wasn't. Dear God, Jack Kirby wrote a masterpiece, and Disney took it and just cornholed it into submission. It is garbage. The Lord of the Rings prequel, The Rings of Power, have now set. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, the writing of that is. Oddly, I'll give it this. It's better than Acolyte so far in the writing. It's. Or at least as far as raising passions. Because, quite frankly, I feel indifferent to the Acolyte. I just don't care anymore. I'm not even angry. I'm not angry at it. I just don't care. The writing is so bad and so boring that it's like sitting in a watching the Acolyte. It's like sitting in a doctor's office reading 5-year-old magazines on how to cook the fall's latest dish from 10 years ago. So it's on the Acolyte. To hear them tell it, the series is the worst thing that's ever happened to Star Wars. No, it wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to Star Wars. And its showrunner, Leslie Headland, the personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, is just as fiendish as Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy. Ooh, we're going to hold off on that for a moment. To them, the Acolyte's woke agenda. I'm really getting sick and tired of this. Woke is being overused. Okay? It's just garbage agenda. Okay? It's not woke, it's garbage. Because their whole agenda is to make something that just panders and virtue signals. Oh, look at me. Look how virtuous we are. Look at this. If you don't like it, you're a horrible istrophobe. It isn't that you made something that wasn't enjoyable. Oh, God forbid that. It's something to be feared. It's ruining Star Wars. It's poisoning pop culture itself. It needs to be stopped by any means necessary. No. Keep pushing it out. That way we can bury this horse that you keep flogging, this dead horse that you keep flogging for more glue. We realize how ridiculous that all sounds, right? God, I hope so, but if not, let's try this. The Acolyte is not actually ruining Star Wars, but the bigoted backlash is definitely ruining the fun for everyone else. It's not outright shocking to see something like the Acolyte marred by racist, misogynistic, and even anti-LGBTQ backlash. This whole article is all in virtue signaling and trying to label anybody that doesn't like this show as a racist, or misogynist, or anti-LGBTQ. Did you even watch the show before you decided to make this article? That Star Wars devotees would share multiple bad faith trees about the series on YouTube or tank its audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Did you even read the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes from the people that actually watched it? It's just par for the course at this point. This is, after all, the same fandom that launched constant attacks against actor John Boyega. No. Oh, hell no. Don't go that far. Look, John Boyega, there was what Ryan Johnson did to him was crap. John Boyega, they turned his character into a joke. They turned Finn into a joke. The character that had the most promise from The Force Awakens, they crapped on. Kelly Marie Tran, which, yeah, she got crap. It doesn't matter who all gets crap. The internet's going to internet, and they shouldn't receive the crap. But by God, you want to keep trying to use this as, oh, they harassed them and Daisy Ridley. Ah, go screw yourself. Ever think that maybe, just maybe, a good chunk of us that are not satisfied with what we got here is because the show or movie or whatever you produced at the time sucks. The same fandom that were publicly admonished by Ewan McGregor himself when Obi-Wan Kenobi faced similar pushback. I still want receipts from that one, because quite frankly, what few they did show for Moses Ingram, which she didn't deserve crap for, her acting was what they made. The writing for her character was nonsense. The writing for the whole show was stupid. I hope people did enjoy the show. I don't know many. It was the show that I wanted to be the most successful, and boy, did they screw the pooch on that one. Okay, they really did. I wanted that show to be good, and they just really went bad with it. The problem is that nothing has changed in the 10 years since this vocal minority suddenly cried out against diverse casting and more nuanced storytelling. They've yet to actually learn their lesson. Their arguments are bleeding into the casual discourse surrounding the Acolyte. Comments on set design and screenwriting have turned into misogynistic microaggressions against Hedlund. No, my thing against Hedlund was she was Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant. She was the woman that was feeding young actresses to Harvey Weinstein. That's my contention with her. There you go. Even critiques on the series have been weaponized by its haters. There's no room for nuance when it comes to the Acolyte. Either you stand with the series, flaws and all, or you're irrevocably against it. You're shooting your own argument in the foot, you dumbass. Sorry, I wanted to keep this more PG, but damn it, I just can't. Look, if you enjoy this series, I am happy for you. I'm thrilled for you. I want you to enjoy this series. I really do. I just don't. This is not made for me. This is clearly a show made for people like the one that wrote this, or the people at IGN, or many others that I'm going to show you when we get to the Rotten Tomatoes thing. If you don't like it, don't listen to them calling you an istidophobe and all this other stuff. Quite frankly, those words don't have any meaning anymore because they've flung it around so much. More so than woke, and that term needs to be buried. Just call things for what they are. If you think it's crap, it's crap. Judge each property on its own merits. The origins of this toxicity aren't difficult to figure out. At the end of the day, it boils down to entitlement. Many male fans feel like they own the franchise. Screw you, you bigoted bastard. And are determined to safeguard it from anyone that could challenge that ownership. That makes it hard for disparate groups to coexist. And it's even harder for any... Alright, now you are a... Not only are you, you're just one racist piece of garbage. Even harder for any non-white male creatives hoping to tell stories within the franchise. Have you even looked at the writers of a lot of the EU books at all? Have you ever looked them up? you worthless sack of racist crap. What began as a relatively niche issue has become Lucasfilm's biggest hurdle moving forward. The Acolyte can weather the storm. After all, it's been well received by critics, yet the only ones. That's who it was made for. But what about the fandom and its relationship to those guiding the franchise now? As the discourse spirals out of control, it's getting harder to ignore it outright. There's no easy way out, but something has to change, otherwise this vocal minority will end up ruining Star Wars for the rest of us. Oh, screw you. You're the same type of cancerous rot that said, well, we want to be fans of this. We are fans of this product. And people that were here before, from the beginning, were saying, oh, yay, more fans of us. People that think that enjoy the thing we enjoy. We are welcoming. Then you come in and you demand, well, we must change everything to go to our sensibilities. And for some God knows reason, we said, all right, we'll start to accommodate some things, but then you demanded more and more and more. And you started taking over. And then you said, well, this isn't yours, this is ours now. We created it. No, you didn't. For God's sakes, people are a cancerous rot. You don't care about anything but how to virtue signal and be racist and sexist douchebags attacking every living thing in sight that doesn't agree with you on the quality of a product. This show is boring as fuck. Dear God, it is the one of, I literally turned on Dunkirk, one of the most boring films ever made. I turned on Dunkirk as a palate cleanser for excitement and entertainment. Look, once again, if you enjoy the show, please do not take this personally. If you're a regular fan of it, this is not directed at you. This is directed at who I believe this was made for, and I believe this was made for very much douchebag virtue signaling critics like them, who want to use this as a cudgel to attack anybody else, because, oh no, we must do this. We must attack at all costs. I mean, look at the difference between audience. You have, and they're going to say, oh, it's review bombing. Really? Let's go through this. You have 85% on the professional critics. Let's look at a few of their things. I mean, you got Minneapolis Star. You have the sight of a lightsaber coming to life has become about as thrilling as turning on a table lamp. But most of these, as you can probably guess, are going to be positive. I mean, like this one. You have the Acolyte is a new era for live-action Star Wars that presents a challenge for audiences to invest in. But this is old-school Star Wars action packed full of unique and intriguing characters. The performances overall are more dynamic. The writing more engaging than usual for Disney Plus, which keeps the series from dragging like predecessors. This is IndieWire. Dear God. These are the people it is made for. Alright, here's a guy that he's pretty straightforward on things. There's times I've agreed with, times I didn't. The Acolyte is supposed to be a crime thriller. The problem is there's no mystery. Yeah, whenever you spoil any mystery for the crime at the beginning of the thing, just in the trailers, then you go through and, I'm sorry, the murder mystery thing they tried to start with had made Blue's Clues look like it was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Then you have the audience ratings. Yes, you have a lot of people there, 1 star, but let's go over some of the reasons. All I got to say from episode 3, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? I don't know how you justify losing $180 million on this hot mess. Star Wars is truly dead. I don't think it's dead. I think it's just You have to make it live in a different way. This show is such a letdown. I wanted to like the show, but it's so cringy and cheesy. I don't understand why they are putting out such seemingly low budget material. The production is horrible. The editing is nothing like previous shows. I don't understand how Andor could be so good, but this so bad. It doesn't make sense to me. I genuinely remember being excited about the premise that was being offered initially for the show. The execution has been terrible and unforgivably cringy at times. The one thing that truly impresses with the show is how it does its own execution of Star Wars itself by episode 3. Well, yes, there are a lot of people, but that don't like it. I wonder why. Yes, there are going to be all sorts of critics of all types out there. I'm not saying there are douchebags out there that are giving, they're going to be crapping on it for one douche that or or phobe or whatever. I'm not saying that isn't possible, but what I am saying is this crap is boring as sin. The writing doesn't make any sense. The first episode, okay, Carrie Ann Moss, what a wasted character on this one. She gets murdered by May. Okay, on a different planet. Now, at this point, they're trying to act like, well, they're trying to say, well, we don't know who it is. Okay. And shows her face. The barkeep sees, recognizes her. And then the Jedi, the space police apparently, go across the galaxy to a ship to talk to Osha, which they knew who Osha was, because matched the description. The problem being is they know where she has been and can look at the logs on the ship for where she has been this entire time. It's not like she stole the ship, flew across the galaxy to go murder somebody, and then flew back to where she was with the ship without anybody noticing she stole it. And it's more nonsensical crap like that that's thrown in there. I just can't. But you know what? There is one good thing, a laugh that I can get out of this show. Because it dawned on me where I've seen this character before. Okay, now this is supposed to be Vernestra Rowe, a character from the High Republic comics. I never read those, didn't care, don't really care for the character. I mean, she has for lack of a better term, she has a resting bitch face. But I was starting to think, where have I seen a makeup design like this, and how do I notice this? Well, I figured it out. This right here, Vernestra Rowe looked with the makeup. This is no offense to the actors who portrayed her. I think it's just a bad makeup that caused this. Because, damn. She looks like what happens if you put Nebula and Gamora together to form gonorrhea. Okay? That's it. That's all I can figure. Because it's something unpleasant that you want to get it away from you as fast as humanly possible. Okay? That is the definition of this character. That is what this character looks like. That's what every time it's shown that you just want it to go away. It is gonorrhea. Sorry. Well, anyways, I know this was a long video, and I do appreciate anybody who actually stayed through this long and actually watched this. I know it's a bit ranty at times. I know I'm not particularly... I don't have enough passion for the show to actually review it. You know, I can't say I'm particularly ticked off at the show. I can't say I'm enjoying the show, because I'm not. I'm definitely not enjoying the show. But I'm just so indifferent. I'm just so numb to it. I just don't care anymore. I'm going to continue to watch it, and maybe I'll find something of value in it. I hope I find something of value in it. I don't know why I'm watching it. Initially, I never intended to watch it because Leslie Headland's track record. But if you did watch it, and watch this video, I am extremely appreciative of it. I honestly do believe this was made for critics and virtue signalers that just want something to bludgeon a group of fans that they don't like over the head with over and over and over again, like they do every time. They produce crap, people call them out on it, and because they call them out on it, they call them ists and phobes and everything else, just so they can, oh, you're horrible people, hoping to bash them into submission. And I'm hoping people are getting fed up with it and putting it to an end. Either way, I thank you very much for watching this. Please consider liking this video if you did like it. So please consider subscribing if you think I earned it. Either way, I hope you have a pleasant evening, day, or wherever it is when you're watching this. And I will catch you in the next video.